Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back. Another Paul Massive video, and today we're going to talk about Rachel and Sawyer, right? The new two 4-star Pokefairs, right? In the new Lear banner. So both of these units are 4-star, first of all, and both of them do have sync grids, so there should be a bit, more to talk about. Although there really isn't, because there honestly really isn't that many builds for these two units. Like, basically there really isn't like any like coherent build for these units. It's more so what do you need specifically in each battle, and then you could change it depending on what you need in each battle, right? Whether it's who the opponents are, which is generally more so the case, especially for Rachel, and sometimes more so who the teammates are, which is a bit more so in Sawyer's case, right? So to start off, looking at both these units, right? These are these stats at 4-star. Obviously, you could also, upgrade them to 5 stars. I'm not sure if I would recommend really upgrading Umbreon, because if you're gonna use the power-ups, you just use it on something like a Skyline Swanna, because she's just kind of like a Swanna, right? With less potions. And the chance to debuff potion opponent's, special attack is basically it, right? It's like a slightly worse Swanna, right? Unless you already have, Swanna up there, you could definitely still use the second one, right? If you really need to, especially, in master mode. So it's not like the end of the world if you upgrade, Umbreon to 5-star. It's definitely an option, right? Just depends on how much potential takes you have. I generally won't really recommend upgrading her, but yeah, in terms of her kit, she has a 1-gauge spammable tackle, XP at all, debuff speed, snarl, debuff special attack from your opponents, and then your trainer move. What this does is it has 1 MP, so you can only use it once unless you get MP refresh, right? So it heals up 60% of the unit's HP, removes all status condition, removes all the confused, flinch, trap stuff, and then gives them endurance, and then gives them gradual healing. So that gives you basically everything you want from a recovery move, right? You get burst heals, you get gradual heals, you get endurance, you get rid of all those status and stuff, and then, yeah. It's like the ultimate recovery move, except you only use it once. So is it really better than like a maybe not as good recovery move, but you could use many more times? Probably not, right? And then as for your passive, you have Team Charge Tank, 20% chance of healing up your team when you get hit by an attack move, Revenge Boost for 50% chance of heal or recovering a move gauge when hit by an attack move, and the Mutually Assured, which status is your opponent when they status use, which does bring us to the one argument for maybe turning her into, or spending tickets to make her 5-star, is that it does make her defenses better, because her HP is not that great. Her defenses are just passable, right? But 5-star does make her defenses better and all that, and her passes does require her to get hit, right? So yeah, that means you need to tank with her, and if you turn her into a 5-star, obviously she gets much better tanking stats, right? So anyways, looking on in terms of Lucky's skill, if you're trying to tank with her, obviously you want vigilance, right? If not, there really isn't too much, right, else you could really give her. You give her one of those type guards, I guess. Although those are really highly dependent, right? And what else? Maybe defense crush. Yeah, but that's basically it. There isn't much. Or you could just not use a Lucky skill on her at all, right? And save it for some other units. So in terms of the grid, I'm just gonna go straight to 3 out of 5, because she is a 4-star. You could use 4-star support candies. Would I actually use 4-star support candies on her though? Personally, I wouldn't, right? Because she is summonable, and you could get more copies of her in comparison to, free to play 4-star supports where you can't get multiple copies of them elsewhere. So I'm saying it's generally probably better to save support candies for your free to play 4-stars. But for those who use them, which is fine. I mean, if you use it, it's fine. It's not the end of the world, right? Or if you got multiple copies for it, let's talk about the grid. So at 3 out of 5, again, there are a lot of options. The number one thing you want to pick up on her grid, number one thing, before you pick up anything else, MP Refresh on her training move. Because again, that's the big draw. That's why you would want to run her. If you're not using her training move, why are you running her? The rest of her kit is not very, very good, right? So you want to pick up MP Refresh on her training move so you can use it again, hopefully. 30% chance of that happening. You probably want to pick up First Aid as well, especially if you are tanking. Which, speaking of, if you are tanking, you might want to pick up Impervious here as well, right? So your stats don't get lowered. If you are facing a stage that does lower stats, which there are a lot, but if you're not, then obviously you don't need to pick it up. So that's why what I'm talking about earlier, right? Like a lot of these are just really dependent on what like stuff you're running and stuff, right? Because again, it's really because it's very flexible. There's a lot of things that you can pick up and drop, right? Just depending on what stage you're playing, what units you're supporting, right? Or you're trying to heal. As for some other stuff, you can pick up X speed all NPR here, right? If you want to max speed, because a lot of times you can run her with units that do have like ramming speed inertia, then you can max out their speed and they could have their multipliers in. If you don't need that, then sure, you don't pick it up. But generally, like even if you're not dealing with any units that have ramming speed inertia, it's still generally good to have more speed on your team, right? So, and it's NPR 3, so it's not like a bad NPR or whatever, right? As for anything else, if you're facing any stage that is trying to flinch, trap, confuse you, pick up Quick Cure, right? If you want, you could pick up Shielded 1. I'm not a huge fan of picking up Shielded 1. Like, +1 defense does, give you a decent amount of defense. And if you really need it, pick it up, right? But, like, it's +1 defense for, like, 10 energy. I would rather just bring another unit to buff defenses if I really, really, really need defense that bad. But on the other hand, there's also not much to pick up on our grid anyway, so it's, like, not the end of the world if you pick this up. So, again, like I mentioned before, it really, really, really just depends, right? All things you pick up, put down. Star move, Gauge Refresh. Even if you're not working with units that work off of special attack debuff multipliers, it still debuffs the opponent's special attack if you're fighting special stages, so you don't get hurt as bad. So that's always not bad to pick up. Another option is, pick up these, right? One of these. It's 20%, and I'm not a huge fan of these because, like, first of all, you're getting hit first before the defensive buffs come in, and second of all, it's going to take a really long time for these to build up. Would it really even be relevant? Unless you're, like, I guess, like, you're getting the gradual heals for yourself, maybe. You're dragging it into longer fights. But yeah, like I mentioned before, all of these are very, very, very much conditional, right? If you need more defense to last longer and longer stages, then you can pick both of these up, right? If you're dealing with stages that have heavy debuffs, Impervious, right? If you're not tanking with her at all, there are also other options. You don't have to pick up any of these. You might not even need to pick up First Aid, but I would pick it up anyways because it's good. But yeah, if you don't need to tank at all, you could just go ahead and do stuff like this, and then just pick up some other stats like speed stats or whatever, right? I mean, if you're not tanking, like maybe Impervious for like if the opponent like bulldozes, debuffs your speed AoE, right? Which is annoying, or Icy Wind. But like, yeah, again, her grid is very, very, very much fluid. A lot of things that you pick up, put down, depending on what stage you're fighting, depending on what moves the opponents use, right, all that stuff. So in terms of team comps, I'm not going to really go too deep into it as well, because again, it supports. There really isn't any, like, certain team comp that you want to fit her in. And especially as a potion supporter, like, you're not really buffing any, like, offensive stats. There really isn't much to talk about in terms of team comp. Just run her where you need her to be, right? Just run her as a, unit that could heal your team, or at least one member on your team. It's a good heal, though. It's a very, very good heal. It's just it's just once, right? Again, if you don't trigger the 30% on MPR. And there are, I guess, some specific things that you could potentially look out for when you're building a team to put her in, right? It's not like you're building a team around her. You're building a team, and you're looking for units to place holes, and she could, fit one of those, right? Which is, again, units that have ramming speed inertia, right, and don't have max speed buffs themselves. Or if they do have speed, they could potentially have max speed buffs, like a Olivia or something, but takes like forever to get it. Then, you know, you run something like an Umbreon or whatever, right? Or like a Wally, it takes forever to get the max speed buffs. Run Umbreon in there. Give some speed for the, again, inertia ramming speed stuff. What else? Oh, also units that have overpower or devastation, right? That's the more special attack debuff they got, the more it powers up your special moves. So something like, I don't know, Karen, right? Karen has that. If you want to pick it up, which I'm not even sure if I'm a fan of picking that up, like Diantha, Alder, right? I mean, units like units like Alder, like, you can debuff the opponent's special attack by yourself, but why would you be spamming Struggle Bug when you could just start, when you instead every turn you could, you know, blast the opponent with hyper beams instead, right? So I guess that could be another part or a place where you could fit Rachel in, right? So yeah, that's basically, you know, Rachel, I guess. Let's talk about Sawyer now. So Sawyer is much more interesting, much better. So in terms of, first of all, again, he is a 4-star, and the first issue we're gonna talk about is it worth using channel tickets on him to make him 5-star? In my opinion, no, not really either. Like, even though he is a much better unit, he doesn't really need the potential tickets. I mean, his speed is already really good. His defenses are good. His HP is terrible, but like, you're really not going to be tanky with him. I mean, you can, especially if you're running, you know, dual striker team bots, which you could definitely run with Sawyer, but like, you generally should be fine. You should be fine, right? Unless you really just, you know, if you really just can't take that many hits, then okay, you could 5-star him, right? Which is, again, not a bad thing, because he's a great unit overall, but I don't think the stats really do him that much, right? Anyways, in terms of his moves, you have Night Slash, +1 crit, innate move, not really useful. 2 gauge, Dire Hit All, buffs crit, right? Get +2 there. Dark Pulse, 3 gauge, 20% chance to flinch the opponent. And then Forever Loyal, the trainer move, also only 1 MP. Gives move gauge acceleration, which is fantastic. Gives attack and special attack, +2, which is great. And then defense, special defense, +1, right? Again, the same issue with Rachel is that there's only 1 MP, or else this, if 2 MP, this guy would be, you know, absolutely broken. And he's still really good, even though it's 1 MP, but it's obviously not as good as having 2 MP. As for your passives, you got team offense and defense, 30% chance of raising defensive offense increased by 1 stat rank, as I'm reading it as they write it. When you use a move, right? So when you use a move, 30% chance to buff the defense of your whole team, and then same thing for special defense here as well, and then Wide Awake can't be put to sleep. So this unit is much more needed generally on teams, just because you have offensive buffs, like you got crit buffs, you got attack special attack buffs, right? And you have move gauge acceleration, which is great for, you know, dual striker team comps, right? As for the grid, again, we're just gonna go straight into 3 out of 5 over here, right? He is, I would say, more enticing to use move candy on, right? 4-star move candy on, because like, the thing with him is, if he's at 1 out of 5, this guy is not good. This guy is not good at 1 out of 5. Because you don't have the NPR on your trainer move, you don't have the NPR on your crit, right? If you don't use a candy on him, this guy's just like a glorified Torchic, right? This is just like a slightly better Torchic, and he's only slightly better just because he has like move gauge acceleration, right? If he didn't have move gauge acceleration, he's just Torchic, right? And yeah, so you definitely want to use move candies on him if you really can't, you know, pull for him for some reason. Although he's like 5% rate, which is pretty high. But yeah, you could use it on him, right? And as for the grids, again, your number maybe 2, because crit's generally more important, right? But again, it depends on who you're supporting. If you're supporting a unit that already has at least +1 crit, then you don't need to pick this up. If you're supporting a unit that maybe doesn't have any crit buffs at all, then you want to pick this up, obviously, right? And same thing for this. If you need to support a unit with more than that needs you know, needs at least +4 or +6 on the offensive stats, then you pick this up. Although I would probably pick this up regardless, because you're getting move gauge acceleration out of this, even if you don't need it. Even if the unit you're supporting already has +4 attack, special attack themselves, and like 1 would be enough, I'd still pick it up, just because, again, that gives you another charge of move gauge acceleration, right? Which is always good to have. Healthy healing over here to help you stay alive, because, you know, he's you could tank with him. You could definitely tank with him, right? You don't have to, but you can. As for some other stuff, it really depends, right? If you need quick cure, if you're fighting a stage that's really annoying that has like a flinch or trap, I wouldn't care that much about confusion. I don't think confusion's that big of a deal. Like, if you get confused, okay, I don't really care. But mainly for flinch and trap, those are annoying. Mainly trap, I'd say. Flinch is very, very, very annoying as well, but it's not as, you know, constant or as likely as flinch. But yeah, pick up quick cure. If you don't need quick cure, then you have 2 options. You could either go Dark Pulse or you could go Night Slash. Night Slash is if you're just on like a really incredibly slow team that you just can't deal with queuing up Dark Pulse, right? If you can't queue up Dark Pulse, then don't queue up Dark Pulse, right? I mean, as great as getting some extra flinches in are, you know, with Dark Pulse with aggravation, it's more important to have your main damage healer queue up their moves, right, over your support, trying to get some random flinches in. So yeah, if you are struggling with gauges, then Night Slash, right? If you're not struggling with gauges, however, you could definitely go up here and pick up Dark Pulse, both move gauge refreshes and aggravation, because, you know, it's 2 move gauge refreshes, right? It's 2 move gauge refreshes over here, so it generally should be fine. Some other things you could look at, maybe hype up Flag Bearer. I'm not that big of a fan, but I mean, it is an option out there. It's the same as Rachel's, except it's 20% chance for attack and special attack instead, so whichever one you need, you pick one of these up, I guess, right? So yeah, but like, that's basically his grid. He doesn't have, I guess, that much versatility on his grid in comparison to Rachel's. His grid is much more standard. In terms of team comp, same thing with Rachel. Just run wherever you need him, right? Rachel is more so, you know, what opponents you're facing, what stages you're facing. This is more so what team you're running him on, right? He could be beneficial for units that need both attack and special attack. So units like Wally, right? Units like Jigglypuff, right? Where like their main damaging move is special physical, and then their sync move is physical special, like the opposite, right? Maybe Rayquaza, I guess. Depending on your build, Ho-Oh, right? It's just units that have, you know, physical special stuff. You could kind of use them like in the Lola Marowak, in a sense, right? And what else? Yeah, it's just you don't, like, again, you don't have to run him with units that are mixed. You could just run him with a, you know, pure physical, pure special as well, right? I mean, as long as you need max crit buffs, you could use them, right? And you should be fine. Again, like I mentioned before, you could also run him dual striker team comps with the extra, you know, move gauge acceleration, right? As for the lucky skill, vigilance, again, same stuff with Rachel, right? If you're trying to tank with him, vigilance. If not, then I guess one other option could be like fast track to increase your speed, but yeah, vigilance is generally better. But yeah, anyways, that's really this one, I guess. Hope you guys are. Let me guys think in the comments down below. Like this video, right? Have some more fun content. I'll see you guys in the next one.